near the library was kind of ripped apart, and then at the front of the school, the gymnasium suffered some serious damage. So definitely you could tell that something did roll through here, and like they did say, the path was right down here through Selma Street, which is where Dothan Preparatory Academy currently is. So there is definitely a lot of cleanup efforts underway, and like they said again, if you have students that go to DPA, they will need to be checked out from Doug 2 Recreation Park, which is just around the corner from DPA, and so they'll definitely need to do that. But for right now, we're live in Dothan. Aaron Dixon, WDHN News for the Wiregrass.
Aaron, if you can hear me at this moment, can you just take us around the scene and the damage that you're seeing, not only around Dothan Prep Academy, but some of the other streets as well?
So Jordan, what we're kind of seeing, so Jordan, as we're kind of like, as I'm kind of walking down the road, as you're looking at Dothan Preparatory Academy right now, you kind of see trees down. He said that trees, one of our people that is running camera for me right now says that there were some trees behind some houses. So it's a lot of ripped down trees, ripped down power lines, but like they are, like Aaliyah's here, Dothan Fire's here, Dothan Police are all here, and they're closing down these roads and directing traffic, but they have multiple crews out throughout Selma Street trying to kind of surface the damage, but it's a lot of pieces of roof that have flown off. It's a lot, like I said, like a lot of trees that have fallen down.
And one of the things that we talk about is why we tell people to get in their safe space in areas like a school and go to the most interior room, because sometimes these things can just touch down, Aaron, and unfortunately it did hit a highly populated area. Luckily, like you said, only minor injuries at the moment, correct? And power outages are, if you have any more information on some of the power outages specifically on the south side of Dothan, correct?
Yeah, that's where they're seeing most of the power outages. And another thing they were talking about was they were really they were ready when the tornado warning came down, but I guess one teacher was telling me that one of her teacher friends was kind of coming outside when she felt the wind gust like blow through, and so she ended up closing the door and getting to her safe space and going with it where the students are. And another thing we are seeing is that some windows were blown out, and the library, like on the backside where the library is at DPA, looks to be where like the brunt of the damage happened, of course, to the gymnasium as well, and because it looks like the wind just kind of picked up part of the roof and lifted it up. You know, it's a scary situation, and it looks like some of the tile like fell. But right now, you know, it's carpool traffic down here because people are trying to get to their kids, trying to make sure everybody's safe. But again, this is something that they're going to monitor and continue to try to clean up, because I know that they want to be back in school as soon as possible.
And it's definitely indicative. And like I said, even though it was not necessarily a confirmed tornado on radar like what we saw near Henry County and Dale County, we tell people to get in their safe space, because even when you see a brief touchdown like that, looks like it's only in a very local spot in Dothan, but even if it's what we consider a weak tornado, still causing at least fairly considerable damage across some of these businesses, which could maybe even have to be closed for a couple days, weeks, or whatever, however long it takes to recover, despite it only touching down for maybe only a few minutes, if that long.
And you said it, and luckily there weren't any, right now that we know of, there weren't any major injuries that have been reported so far. And one thing we are seeing is, something we are seeing is that they all follow, like the school system says, that they followed their emergency protocol. So they went to that inside room, they followed those warnings, and they were told, hey, get to your safe spot. And luckily there wasn't any catastrophic injuries or anything of that sort, but there's just a few minor injuries.
Yes, and thank you, Aaron. If we can switch back to links 2, I'm actually going to give an overall synopsis of what happened over the last 3 hours. So over the last 3 hours, what we have seen is we did see a line of storms move through, and you can see we started off with some special weather statements, but then we saw a tornado warning, that confirmed tornado warning, and then a tornado warning in Houston County. And as that did happen, we saw that when initially, even when I was on Facebook, I said that the line of storms are underperforming at this moment. We still can't rule out, if some of these storms become severe, that we could see damaging winds and a brief tornado. And that's why I mentioned that, because at the moment, things were underperforming. But once the environment kind of lined up with that perfect daytime heating, it gained enough strength, and we're still seeing severe thunderstorm warnings across areas of southern Georgia. Now, Currently, we don't have any damage reports in Henry County, but we are seeing, according to the Henry County Sheriff, but we are still seeing some damage reports when it comes to trees down in areas of Dale County, where we did have that brief tornado, at least that radar confirmed tornado touch down. So like I said, I'm going to give one more brief overview of what happened. Then we're going to go back to Aaron in a quick second. But we see earlier today, we saw those beige boxes. Those are special weather statements. So that means they're not severe quite yet. But as soon as we got closer to Coffee and Dale County, we saw that tornado warning drop, then a confirmed tornado between Dale and Henry County. Then as you go further down to your south, here's Dothan, special weather statement, and then we saw that potential tornado that did drop down on the south side of Dothan. So we're going to go back to Aaron Dixon. He has some more information on the ongoing situation in the aftermath of this possible tornado that did drop down on the south side of Dothan here in the Wiregrass.
Hey, Jordan, yeah, we're here on Selma Street. We're kind of walking away from the school. I'm going to show you some of this damage that we're seeing as we're walking past the barricade that Aaliyah and ambulance and fire has kind of set up. And as you see right here in front of me, you see these pieces of, looks like pieces of roof that have fallen off of business. It looks like it came from the school, and then you of course see trees down, and then over in the corner you see some signs down over there. But then you definitely see, and as we continue to walk, as we're going to kind of work our way around it, we're going to kind of see the roof down and then some street signs down. It was the South Oats, and it looks like, let's see, looks like the Tiger Drive sign, and it was taken off. And then as we continue to work down, it's kind of the same thing. They did say, now school officials did tell me that some employees' cars also suffered some damage. But as we continue to walk down Selma, you can definitely tell like something did come through, because there are some trees even down the road and continued pieces of roof on the ground. So there's definitely a path of damage.
And one thing that I am noticing, Aaron, is when you went back over to that sign that said Oak Street, one thing that's kind of indicative of tornado damage is, if you can see a lot of the roof, and also when you saw the Oak Street sign that was on the ground, you see it's twisted. And that's what you typically see in tornado damage compared to just regular straight line thunderstorm wind damage, where you get that rotation and it more snaps and twists some of that metal. So it does look more indicative of tornado damage than a typical severe thunderstorm warning.
And so, yeah, we're here in front of this car lot, and you can kind of tell some of the damage in the road here. I mean, there is some, pieces of the business in the road. There's some pieces of the business in the road, but then there's also some metal that has flown up under these cars right here. So we're definitely seeing a lot of that damage in that area. Like you said, it's again that twisted up metal that those straight line winds have kind of caused. And as we work our way down, you see some more trees down, and and then there's some damage in front of these businesses over here. And then you see that there's some damage to this car right here, where some parts from so the tree limbs caused a little damage and hit their car.
And that's exactly why we tell people to go into their most interior room, because if you go inside your car, it's a great chance that some of that metal could get thrown. And if you're inside the car, that can injure you. It could injure whoever's in that car. Could even, if it was a stronger tornado, could pick up that car. So I'm glad that as of right now, no major injuries, because you see, if you were outside during this time, you could have got hit by debris or anything that could have caused major damage, not only on the outside, but to you as well.
Yeah, so it looks like it happened at a laundromat, where people were just doing and there's some broken windows that we're seeing. And then there's also some signs in the road. Again, it's pieces of the business. It's this laundromat that I guess people were here doing their laundry like they would, every other Monday. But then they had to go take shelter and kind of protect themselves from the storm. And even across the road, you're seeing more pieces of roof on the road. And then there's road crews blocking off roadways that they think are impassable right now, because they're trying to assess the damage while also cleaning it up to make sure people are traveling.
I do have a question for you, Aaron. Are you seeing any power lines down? Because one thing that I did mention earlier, and also I'm glad that emergency officials also mentioned, is if you see any power lines down, don't go over them. Treat them as an active line down. It looks like we're seeing one down right in front of you.
Yeah, right here in front of me is a down power line, and some power crews over closer to Oak Street were putting up the power lines. Like, they're kind of working on trying to replace those right now, but there's multiple power crews all over the place trying to make sure they get these power lines up, because you can see that it's lined all the way down, and then you see some of the insulation from the roof, and then we're at this ministry right here where the windows have been broken out.
Oh, wow.
So we're definitely seeing the impact here to Christ Miracle Ministries, where like the windows have been busted out here, and then there's glass all over the ground, and then there's also the flag. Their flag is falling down.
Yes, it does seem like we saw pretty strong winds. It takes some strong winds to break those windows, because those windows are typically reinforced, and when you see windows blown out like that, it does show somewhat of a wind tunnel effect too, where sometimes if a tornado or anything with strong winds goes to a populated area, the winds will sometimes funnel in one area and it can blow windows out and even cause more damage. But you can definitely see lots of damage across the area, even though it was a brief touchdown, but the winds do look very strong. Since I've been here, this is the first time I've seen a tornado touchdown inside the circle. And this is why I told everybody in the circle, me and Brian, if you stay within the circle, you need to get inside to your most interior room, because it seems like the farther you're walking down, the more damage that we see, and it looks a little bit more severe down there.
Yeah, and a lot of residents are kind of working their way around the area to kind of see what kind of happened. And they're also kind of walking around to see, okay, are their people okay? Because, I mean, this is a close-knitted community. This isn't something where, okay, somebody else got damage. No, this is somebody's laundromat. This is somebody's bank. This is somebody's church that they're going to worship in every Sunday. And so they're making sure their places are okay. And then as we're looking at this laundromat again, look at the roof. You can see where the wind kind of took up parts of the roof and caused that damage inside there. So that's going to have to be repaired. You know, it's just, and then right behind the business there's a tree down. And then like over at this bank, there's
over there
something over on this. Yeah, the tree snapped in two, it looks like. So, I mean, and it's leaning now on the business. But and this is just as we work away. I mean, we're probably 0.2 of a mile away from the school. This is right around where the school was damaged as well. So that you can definitely tell, like, that wasn't the biggest part of the damage. We're seeing even more, and we're seeing parts of this bank here.
And one thing I want to mention is that this isn't that's a large piece of debris.
I mean, it's bent.
This isn't the only damage that we saw across the Wiregrass. Again, we had a confirmed tornado north of Midland City. There's shed damage on South County Road 59, just to the north of Midland City. So this isn't just one area of the Wiregrass that was affected. It was multiple areas of the Wiregrass that have received damage due to this line of storms, even though it moved fast. But it only takes a couple seconds to create a lot of damage over a portion of the area.
But yeah, Jordan, like you were saying, like this is roofing insulation, and it looks completely bent. Like, that is something, and it is pretty firm here. Like, this isn't something that you're just gonna pick up and throw, or something that you're gonna pick up and move. That's gonna take multiple people to move. So it is something that is constantly, you know, so it bent in two. So it is, you can definitely tell the damage here. And then we're coming up on another power line that is down kind of right in front of Dothan Preparatory Academy, as we're working our way back to the school, where officials are all over the place making sure that everybody, they're kind of really directed. The big problem right now is directing traffic, because there are parents that may not know that their kids were involved in a tornado. So they're having to be told, hey, you need to go to Doug 2 to pick up your child, because they're not running buses, which is going to cause a hassle for some parents, but they're definitely trying to work around that and be able to help as possible. And at the over here at the Ohana Mart, that you can definitely see some damage where the windows were busted open, but you also see parts of their roof was thrown on the ground.
And one thing, I think parents.
And then as we're looking up,
and if the parents are watching, I want to let them know that it is going to take some time to pick your kids up. There's going to be traffic. There's going to be closed roads. Power lines are down within certain areas. So the main thing is, and one thing I think you mentioned, is you just got to be patient. I know it's a very troubling situation. I know parents can be worried from time to time, especially in a situation like this, but You got to let the emergency crews do what they do so your kids can continue to stay safe. And it's going to take some time to clean this up. But the good news is, as of right now, no major injuries, and we do this so people can stay safe. So it's going to take some time, but be patient as you guys are picking up your kids or trying to get to someone, and make sure you guys take the proper safety precautions as well.
And Jordan, that's what I was talking about, where power crews are on kind of Oak Street, already trying to restore power to where they can to some of the bigger impacted areas around kind of South Dothan. And that's one of the areas that they really feel that they need to repair. And they were, just before we even started walking down the road, they were already by like the old Rite Aid in this area. So they were working their way through that.
Yes, and you can see.
So we're definitely seeing a lot of first responders. Yeah, you can see all the first responders. I mean, it's Dothan Fire, it is Dothan Ambulance, it's Pilcher's Ambulance, it's the state troopers. I mean, there are crews from all over here to try to repair this area to what they can, so then they can start looking at the damage and start cleaning up the damage. But first, they have to make sure that everybody has power and everybody can safely get to where they need to go.
Yes, and the good news is that in this particular situation, this wasn't like what we saw a couple weeks ago when we talked about long track violent tornadoes. This was a brief touchdown, and even though it did cause damage, this did have potential to be way worse in the events that we've seen from the past. But every event is different, so that's why we tell people, whether it's a level 1 risk, a level 2 risk, or a level 3 risk, each one needs to be treated as such, because in this instance, like, even though we didn't see those tornadoes a couple weeks ago, we were under a level 2 risk by the time these storms moved through, and still seeing the tornado drop down.
No, 100%. And then you see some power lines down in front of the school, because we're back in front of the school, which suffered a lot of damages. And again, where 5 students were hurt and 2 were taken to the hospital. And then 3 were treated at the scene. So luckily, but like they said, they're minor injuries, which is luckily not any worse than it already was. So that's great that the injuries were minor, but of course you hate hearing that there were any injuries at all.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. And if you continue to receive any more information, please continue to let us know. But the good